Hello guys, so today we are going to learn about stacks in data structures. So what is a stack first of all? A stack is a linear data structure in which insertion and deletions are allowed only at the end, which is also called as the top of the stack. For example, the stack of books or a stack of coins. Now both these examples have two things in common. The first one is any object, may it be a book or may it be a coin, can be accessed only from the top. And the second one, any object can be added only at the top. We can suppose if we have a book of stacks, we cannot take out any book from the middle or any book from the at the bottom directly. First, we have to take out each and every book from the top, and then we can take out any book if it is in the middle or even if it is at the bottom here. So now the stack works on the same concept in data structures. Now here we have some primary stack operations and some secondary stack operations. So the primary stack operations are push, which inserts data into stack, and the second one is pop, which deletes the last inserted element from the stack. Now we have some secondary stack operations which are like top, size, is empty and is full. Top returns the last inserted element without removing it. It is not going to remove an element, but it is only going to tell us that which was the last element that was inserted, or which is at the top of the stack. Next is size, which returns the size or the number of elements we have in the stack. Next we have is empty. This function is used to check if a stack is empty or not. It returns true if the stack is empty, else it returns false. Similarly, we have is full. Suppose we have a limited size for the stack, so there it is going to check is the stack full or not. So here it returns true if the stack is full, else it returns a false. So now let's just go to the program and see how we can implement all these operations using an array. So this is basically the array implementation of stack. So here we are going to do this in C language. So here I have defined a macro here as max, and I have defined it as 7. So this is going to be the maximum size of the array or the stack. Here we have all those functions in this, the primary and the secondary functions. And here I have declared a global integer array as stack array with the size as max, which refers to 7 that we have defined here. And then we have a variable here as top. So what is this top going to do? This top is going to point out at the top element in the stack wherever it is. And suppose if we normally whenever we are dealing with a stack, normally the stack is totally empty. So if it is totally empty, so where is it going to point out? So in that case, every time we take the initialization for the top variable as -1, and as when as it keeps on inserting any new element, the value for the top variable keeps on increasing. So here I have two variables, data and choice, and I have a while loop here which is always true as I have given the input here as 1. So what is going to happen here? I am going to ask the user for the user's choice. 1 for push, second for popping out any element, third for printing the top element, fourth to print all the elements of the stack, and at last number 5 it is to quit whenever the user wants to terminate the entire execution of the program. So here I am asking the user to enter the user's choice. Now whatever the user enters the choice, depending upon the choice of the user, I have defined a switch case here. So first I have the case value 1. 1 here means push. So I will ask the user to enter the element to be pushed, whatever is the element that the user wants to push. Then I will take the input in the data variable, and then I'm going to call the push function by passing the data as a parameter to the push function. So now let's go and check the push function here. So here I have this push function which is taking the data as an input, as an integer input. So now suppose in a case like the entire stack we have is empty, we can easily push any new element. If the stack has 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of elements, we can push a new element at any point of time. But in this case, as we have taken the maximum size as 7, the array size is 7, so the stack size here is also 7. So whenever we have 7 elements inside the stack, so at that point we cannot enter any new data, we cannot push any new value into it. Okay, so there comes the criteria to check every time before pushing any element into it, that if the stack is full or not. So here I have declared another function as is full. So here this is full function. Now as we know, for an array the index starts from 0 and it goes till 6. The maximum number is 6, allows for a array of size 7. So what are we, so as a top element, if we have the sixth element into the array, so it is definitely going to point out at the index 6. So this top variable is also index which is going to point out at the top variable. So here we are going to check if top is equal to max minus 1. It means if the top is equal to 6. Now why have I written here as max? I could have directly written here as 6. But the thing is, suppose if we want to increase the size at any point. Okay, if we want to, so suppose if we want to increase the size of the array or the stack, so there after this max we can directly change this value from 7. If we want to increase the size, we can give a larger number. If we want to decrease the size, we can give a smaller number here. So this is the is full function which is going to check if the top is equal to 6. If the top is equal to 6, then it is true that the stack is full. So it is going to return 1, else it is going to return 0. Okay. So now let's come back to the push function here. And as it is, if it is true, if it returns the value 1, it means it is, this condition becomes true, and it is going to print there as stack overflow. Whenever the stack is full, we call it as stack overflow, and it is going to return from that exact point. We don't have to perform any further operations. Else in all other cases, every time we will just increment the value for the top variable, for the top index by 1, and then into that particular index we are going to store the new data that the user has given. So this is about the push function. Next we have the pop function. So if the user selects a choice as 2, so then this pop function is going to be called. So now if we look at this pop function, now whenever we want to pop out any value, we are going to pop out the topmost element we have in the stack. If we have 7 elements, it is going to take out the last element, the seventh element. Let's say if we have 3 elements, it is going to take out the third element. But what if when we don't have any element into that stack? If the stack is empty. So there comes the criteria to check if the stack is empty or not. So let's go to the isEmpty function. So here we have the isEmpty function. It is of integer return type, and whenever we have the stack as empty, so the top variable is going to store the number as -1. So how it happens to be -1, I will tell you after 2 minutes. So here it is going to check every time if the top value is equal to -1, because if it is -1 it is not pointing out at any element. If it is not pointing out at any element, we don't have any element there. If this is true, then it is going to return 1, else it is going to return 0. So here we look at the pop function. If it returns 1, that it means this empty function becomes true here. And if it is true, so there, whenever we have a stack as empty, so there, so then the stack is called as underflow. In that case, we are going to give a give an instruction to the user that the stack is underflow. Now, if this stack is not empty, if we have some values there, then we just need to we just need to pop out the last element, the topmost element from there. So here the top variable will be stored at the top index in the stack array. So here we have taken an integer variable as value. Now this value is going to store the topmost element, and then every time we will just decrease the index for the top variable every time. Now whatever we have in the array, we cannot delete any element. We can just assign it to some other values. We cannot delete any element from the stack. So we will just not focus on that part, and every time whatever we have at the top variable, we are going to store it in the value variable, and then decrement the top variable by 1, top equal to top minus 1. And then whatever we got at the top index, we are going to simply return that value from this pop function. Now if it is returning something, so here in the main function we need a variable here. So here the data variable is going to take that element whatever has been popped out, and then we are going to give instruction to the user that the deleted element is %d, and that element is data here. Then comes the third one, to print the top element. So here we are simply going to give the instruction to the user that as the top element is %d. Now this top element is %d, this %d is going to be replaced by this pick function. So we have this pick function which returns the topmost element. So here again the is called pick function is called here also. If we don't have any element into the stack, it will be empty. So again here we have to call is empty function. Now whatever it returns, if it returns 1, then the stack is overflow. If it returns a 0, then this if condition becomes false. So now as we were talking about the pop function, every time whenever we pop out any element, we are going to decrease the value for the top variable. So now whenever we have only one element into the entire stack, so the top is equal to 0. It is pointing out at the first index in the array. So again whenever we want to pop out the only element from the stack, so at that point of time this top variable is going to be decremented again by 1. So 0 here becomes -1. That is the reason why we have to check. That is why we are going to check every time whenever we have to check if the stack is empty or not, it is to check as top is equal to -1. Here we have this. So let's come back to this pick function again. So on this pick function, it is going to check if it is empty or not. If it is not, then whatever we have at the top index, it is going to return that particular value from here. And whatever it returns, it is going to be printed on the output console as the top element is %d, whatever is the value that has been returned. Next we have the last one, case 4, to print all the elements of the stack. So here the print function we have. So we call the print function. Here again we will be needing to check if the stack is empty or not. If we don't have any element, what are we going to print there? So here we have a for loop where I have a variable as I, which is initialized as top, and it is going from top to the index 0. So whenever we are printing the elements of a stack, we will be printing from the top to the bottom. We will start from the top and we will go till the bottom to print all the elements. So here at every iteration, what are we doing? We are printing the value that we have in the stack array at the index I here. And this is all about all the functions that we have. The primary functions we have push and pop. We have one function as print to print the entire elements. We have isEmpty function, isFull function, and we have this function as peek. Now it is done, and at last whatever the user enters other than 1 to 4, I know I know that I have given the input here as 5, but whatever the for a generalized look, but whatever the user enters other than 1, 2, 3, and 4, it will be considered as a default case, and the program is going to return. And we can also say it here as the program is going to terminate if the user gives any other input other than 1 to 4. So now let's execute the code and see how it works. So here we have the program. So as we know, our stack is empty. So first we will just enter some elements here. Let's say 5. The next element is 8. Another one, let's say 0. Another element here, so 6. So I have here entered the numbers 5, 8, 0, and 6. Now if I want to print all the values here, so let's enter the input as 4. So here it is printing in the reverse order from top to bottom as 6, 0, 8, and 5. If I want to print the top element, so here the top element is 6. If I want to pop out, then if I want to pop out any element, so here it is going to pop out the first element. So the deleted element is 6 here. Then now if I check again with what are the values that I have here, so I have here as 0, 8, and 5. So this is all about the array implementation of stack. So let's terminate the program by entering 5. So it is over. So this is all about stacks and its array implementation. So see you all in the next video. By the time, happy learning, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you get a notification whenever we upload a new video on our channel. Thank you very much.